Hello, my lovely listeners, and welcome to this episode. In today's episode, I talk to the wonderful, kind, caring, just overall gem of a human being, Poppy Peach. Poppy is a 17-year-old autistic horse person who shares her life with her two wonderful horses, Annie and Willow. She doesn't use one particular method or technique in her horsemanship. Instead, she blends modalities based on what suits each horse. Her approach is co-creational and deeply centered in relationship and consent. She is currently training as a trauma-informed horsemanship instructor, alongside being continually committed to the practice of self-development to support a thriving relationship with her horses. Recording this episode was the first episode I recorded with a guest, and I was just smiling the entire way through. It was absolutely my pleasure to spend the 2 hours I spent with Poppy recording both for her podcast and for mine. And I know that I have definitely made a new friend, and it's all thanks to this podcast. So without further ado, let the episode begin, and I hope you enjoyed it just as much as I did. Hello, Poppy, and welcome to the Cognitive Equestrian podcast. How are you today?
Oh, I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited.
Yeah, me too. So to my listeners, Poppy and I just recorded an episode for her podcast, which is the How to Speak Horse podcast. And now we are doing a swapsies. So I'm now doing the question asking, and you're going to be doing the talking.
Yes.
I'll just briefly introduce the sort of idea behind the podcast, because Poppy and I were just having a chat about it as well. And so on these podcasts, you often get these trainers or people with like a big following and people who've just had horses inherently for their whole entire life. And you don't really hear the stories of the day-to-day people like you and me. So that's kind of what my podcast is for, is to hold space for those people and make those connections. So without further ado, the Humans of Horses is going to kick off with the wonderful Poppy, Willow, and Annie.
Oh, thank you. I'm so excited for this whole series. And yeah, I love that that's really something that we're both driven by, the idea of having quote unquote normal people on podcasts. Yeah.
So do you want to tell me, first of all, about your horses? Let's introduce them to our listeners.
Absolutely. So I share my life with two incredible horses called Willow and Annie. And Willow, I mean, they're both phenomenal, but Willow I've known her for 2.5 years now, I think. And she is, I think, the wisest horse that I've ever met. Not I think, I know. She is absolutely amazing. And yeah, I met her when we don't completely know what's happened in her past, but it resulted in me meeting her and her being basically feral and had these dreadlocks and no one could go near her. I mean, she's actually got dreadlocks now, but she hates having her mane brushed. So the dreadlocks have stayed, but
I hear you, girl.
Yeah, I know.
I hear you.
Yeah, she's getting into having like scratches, but she's like, no, my mane is mine. You are not touching it. But
I love that.
But yeah, it's quite it's been a huge journey with her to get to the point where she would even let people near her, and it made me realize when I met her, how much horses do for us without us even realizing. And it really made me think a lot differently about, I had to make myself desirable for her to be around, because you've got to, when there's some feral horse, and I didn't want to do that by some of the methods of like, having a feral horse and you kind of starve them and you're the only source of food or whatever, which unfortunately isn't uncommon in a lot of sort of Mustang training things, the whole corralling practice and everything. So yeah, like I had to spend a lot of time working out how to not just on a sort of materialistic level, like, okay, I can give you food that you want. I had to work out how to, on a social and emotional level, how to be a sort of safe space for her that she would want to be in. And yeah, like she's so emotionally attuned. She is so sensitive to everything that's going on around her. So much so to the point that if someone was, when she was at our old yard, if someone was trying to get their horse from her field and they were a bit stressed that day, and she was terrified of head collars at this point as well, she would put herself in between that human and the horse so that they couldn't go and catch the horse.
Wow.
That is the kind of, like, she is this maternal, powerful, like, absolutely no words for her. She is so amazing. And Annie is also amazing. She is pretty much the opposite to Willow, but I have also never known two horses be such close friends. Their friendship is just amazing. And Annie is an 8-year-old thoroughbred who she spent a short amount of time in the racing industry and then was just a sort of normal riding horse and then had injuries, and that's kind of how she ended up with me. But she, even though she technically isn't super, super young, she's still relatively young, and I still see an 8-year-old horse as a young horse, but she acts a lot younger. And it's I've only had her for 4 months, and in that time, it's like she's progressively got younger, and it's beautiful. It's like this pure innocence and joy and lightness, and Willow feels like she's got the wisdom of 1,000 lifetimes, and Annie has just got this kind of like this real like puppy energy,
a very yin and a yang.
Yeah, and it's just amazing how they really bring those strengths together, and they just, like, you would think that maybe sort of Annie would kind of piss Willow off a bit with, she's so inquisitive and she's always interested in what's going on and all of these things, but actually they just and they'll just stand together with their eyes shut and their heads down. And then we'll go out on walks and they'll be like, and if they're ever nervous, they just like crowd together like little sardines. Like they just like, it's so cute. And this is Willow, who has like got the biggest personal space bubble of any horse I've ever met. And like she's smaller than Annie as well. And she'll just kind of like squidge up to her and be like, it's so sweet. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, that was a slightly long-winded introduction, and I feel like I still haven't even scratched the surface of who they are. But yeah.
How did you, I mean, we sort of had this conversation about, how did you end up with two?
Yes, well, the plan was never even to get one in the first place. So when I met Willow, I was 13. Oh, hang on, no, I wasn't. Was I 13? Anyway, time goes a lot faster than I think it does. No, I was 14. Get my facts right. And I had gone from not being, my parents aren't horsey. I don't come from a horsey family, but I really, really loved horses and managed to get into it through my own sort of, basically my mum is both my parents are incredibly supportive, but my mum was really, really good at kind of going, okay, this is your thing. I'm going to find a way for you to do it.
I love that.
I know. And she's like scared of horses as well.
I love that. That's so wonderful.
It's so sweet. And so yeah, we found this local yard, which like looking back was actually so lovely. And this pony who I shared was so gorgeous. She was this 18-year-old, like 12-hand Welsh pony, and her owner was really lovely. She was traditional, but actually the way that she taught me within that traditional lens, it was kind of like the best of the traditional.
That's really good.
Yeah, it's really nice.
it's very easy to pass off a traditional person,
Yeah.
but there are
Yeah.
good, compassionate, amazing traditional people out there who do the best that they can do within the knowledge of within their knowledge framework. There you go. That's the word.
Yes, completely. And it was like, so it was actually really nice to have that foundation with her. And then we started getting to the point where I did show jumping and competing and had so much fun with her. And then I sort of grew out of her and she got a little bit old and she had a few health issues happening. But I was really, really enjoying like doing bareback riding and stuff with her at the time. And my mum saw that and went, "It's natural horsemanship, isn't it? That's what that is."
I love that your mum labelled that.
I know.
So cool.
Yeah. And there was this guy who kind of lived nearby and she'd kind of seen on Facebook and she was like, "Yeah, he does this like natural horsemanship stuff. And let's go and see him." And then he basically he showed me a photo of a horse's head being ridden and he was like, "What do you think when you see this? Horse, normal horse, yes." And then he showed me that same image photoshopped onto a dog. And I was just like, oh no.
That made me shudder. Like,
yeah. And it just completely, I just couldn't think about anything in the same way again. And like, by nature, I'm a really black and white thinker. So almost overnight, I just kind of villainized. And he was very, like, he was exactly the person I needed in that moment. But he was very, very opinionated. He was like, all shoes are bad, all stables, rugs, you know, you name it, he thought it was bad. And I think I just kind of, I really, really took that on. And I'd also just, like, I'd just got a full loan horse as well at the time. And he had come from the traditional world, I'd come from the traditional world, and I had no understanding and no skills, but a lot of opinions. And I'd also just started secondary school, which was hell, and it was just chaos. So we had to give this horse back after like 3 months or something, or maybe even less than that, because he had terrible separation anxiety. It was just going so badly. And I was like, if we give him back, he'll go back to what his life was like, which was out in a field with his friends, perfect. And then from there, I was basically like, that's it. I'm out the horse world. I am out the horse world. And
because where do you go from there?
Exactly. And I was like, I kind of thought, well, the only way I'll ever be able to do what I want to do, I would need to have my own place and my own horses and just do it my way. And I was like, well, that's not possible yet. You know, that takes a lot of money, basically. And then lockdown hit as well. And whole side tangent, but I was like, I got really into chocolate making and I was like, I'm going to be a chocolatier.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, like I've literally got a registered business, and in fact that was even how I met my coach, because I was doing cakes for her workshops. I know the joys of a home educated life.
But I like to say, like, again, everything happens for a reason, and we meet everybody we meet for a reason. Mm-hmm. So something was pulling you to making chocolate, and then voila.
Yeah. But like after lockdown, because my mum still knew that I needed horses in my life. Like she was just like, this needs to happen. Yeah. And she put a thing on Facebook. We seem to both be finding our horses through Facebook. Basically she found these people with this 3-year-old New Forest pony who wanted someone to kind of come in and do some training and stuff, and also because he wasn't being ridden, because I still didn't even like know how I felt about even the concept of riding horses at that time.
Oh yeah.
Like
I think we all go there
that way. Yeah,
we all go there where we're like, oh my god, like why are we doing this? Like, should we even be taking them out? Like, who are we to put this on a horse? And blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I hate you.
Yeah, exactly that. So like I managed to, and I sort of started doing some bits with him. And then I was like, oh yeah, no, I really don't know what I'm doing in this modality. And so I found this trainer, and she came out, and she wasn't a Pirelli trainer, but she was like slightly, so she'd trained in Texas and was very much of the kind of Western leaning way of doing things. But you know, she also had a lot of softness and a lot of compassion, and did bring in, you know, some science-based things, but she was like heavily against anything positive reinforcement and things like that. So like, yeah, it was really interesting because, you know, I had limited knowledge at that time, and she would kind of explain things in a way that felt like it made a lot of sense. And me and this horse progressed really quickly with her, and someone else came out, this quite well-known Liberty trainer, and I'd been doing all the... I was seeing him every single day and working on stuff, and we'd been doing tricks, and like, he was like, if you're thinking of like a good horse, he was really good. And because he was so young, he learnt really fast, and she came out and they'd bought him for £100, and she was like, he's worth 10 grand now because of what you've done. And so I think I really remember that statement because it made me feel like I could do this, you know? And I had all these dreams of being a trainer and, you know, like a trick rider and doing all this Liberty stuff. And I was just like, that would be so cool. And then this advert comes up on Facebook of this. She wasn't even for sale at the time, Willow, and her name wasn't on there. And it was just this feral looking horse doing this absolutely intense stare at the camera. And the owners had just said, we're looking for some sort of like natural trainer because we don't think the traditional methods are going to work with her. And everyone was recommending...
that they acknowledged that, actually.
Yeah, it was really cool. They were like, this is just not going to work for her.
No, amazing.
Yeah, and there was one person that everyone was recommending, and I know her, and she's lovely, but she's really, really busy. And at the time I was like, I'll come and like, and I'll be like, I can do it for free, and this will be like really good because it's this wild horse.
How old were you at the time?
Yeah, 14, yeah.
I love that. I love that.
And my mum, bless her as well, because she'd seen this happening with this horse and all these people coming in and saying things and going, oh, you're doing really well. And I was like posting all my stuff on Instagram with this horse at the time, and I was doing all the trends, and like I was doing these reels that had like tens of thousands of views, and like, which really is 10,000 views isn't actually that much, but it felt like a lot at the time. And yeah, and I just kind of had this false sense of ability, basically. And yeah, and then I just went out to Willow, and it was like she just gave me nothing, and it was the most amazing thing that could have ever happened, basically, because I was just like, whoa. And I didn't want her particularly, but her owners were like, look, we wanted a companion horse, so they'd got her at an auction in Wales. She would have definitely been heavily drugged because she was all placid, and they were like, oh, she's a nice little companion. And then by the time they got her back to England, she bolted off the trailer and wouldn't let anyone near. So it was like, okay, something has gone on here. And they were like, look, it's great that you're helping, but we don't fundamentally want this sort of project horse. We're just looking for a companion. Do you want her? And I was out in the field with Willow, and my mum basically bought her.
Amazing.
I know. And she was just like, you can do it. And you know, we did. And I'm so glad that she did buy Willow, because Willow is the first horse that I couldn't connect with. So, like, you know, I was, as a lot of us horse people, you know, we just go up to any horse and we're like, you're amazing. And I did think she was amazing, and I was like, you're really, really cool, but it felt like there was so much distance between us that it was almost impossible to reach her. And that showed me a lot about myself as well, that I, you know, she basically, most of the work with her had nothing to do with her. And
it was yourself.
It was stuff about myself, and it was really interesting because she was going, I'm not going to let you in, and I was going, oh, I'm not going to let you in. So it was like we were doing exactly the same, and we were just mirroring each other, and it was like this kind of standoff. And because she was avoidant, she would never, ever, ever do anything aggressive. She would just run away.
Have you heard of attachment theory?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So like avoidant, because she specifically said avoidant. I was like, oh yeah, avoidant and secure, right? So she was avoidant.
Completely. She was avoidant, And she was avoidant, and then I was kind of both anxious and avoidant. So it was a really interesting mix. But yeah, so that was like basically that was how I ended up getting her, and she was still at her previous owner's place because like there was nowhere we could have moved her. So somehow, and I don't even know how in hindsight, but like I started getting into doing like positive reinforcement training. I just started doing shit tons of research basically because I was like, my stuff isn't working with this horse. You know, I don't have a small arena where I could do like join up or whatever. That's not going to work. So we started using positive reinforcement, managed to get to the place where we could kind of brush her, touch her, and me and my mum were doing a lot together with her. And like looking back, I kind of see photos and videos and I'm like, okay, she was just kind of freezing and letting me do it. But it got to the point where we could halter her and move home, and it was kind of going well. And she was 12 as well at the time when I met her. And then we moved her because we had to. It wasn't our place, and they were really, really kind, letting us stay for as long as we did. But it was getting into winter, and having an extra horse was making it so much more muddy. And we tried to find somewhere where she could live out 24/7, but just nowhere was working at all. And we had somewhere, and it fell through at the last minute. So we ended up moving to the yard where this trainer that I'd been having all these lessons with the other horse, this 3-year-old, where she lived. And so we went and we moved, and I must say, at the time, again, you know, we're talking about how the right thing happens at the time, it was exactly what we needed, because actually it forced us into proximity, because if we'd have just been out in the field, like, I had this whole story in my head that she's just a wild horse and she's never going to thrive in the domestic world, and I just need to find somewhere where she can be wild. And it was like, actually, the fact that we had this yard, and it was a community of such supportive, like-minded people, and it was rubbish that she had to be in a stable, and it didn't completely meet her needs, but it was really good at the time, and we had an arena. And like that was where everything happened.
Because it sounds like in that setup, she has to build a relationship with you in order to survive and thrive.
Yes,
otherwise
completely.
You're just not going to get anything done or go anywhere. And but I think sometimes... sorry.
No, go
I think
go
sometimes when you're in a situation with a horse where it's like, this has to happen, something within you changes. And I think they pick up on that intention of like, oh, she means business. Like, you know, I've noticed it with, I've been teaching my 3 with trailering recently because we're going to be moving to the UK.
Yes.
And I don't have a trailer, so it's not something I can just do. And it was like, last time I saw Fion go on a trailer was when I bought him, and he ended up with his leg like over the bar. And it was just like, oh my God, he had to be sedated, and it was just terrible. Like, he sees a trailer, he runs a mile. But now it's like he knows he has to do it. And because I'm like, if you're coming with me, because I'd really love it if you came with me, you have to go on this thing. So I'm like, let's just make it a game. Let's make it a pedestal. Like, it's exactly like pedestal. It's just got like a sort of darkish hole at the end, you know?
Yes.
And it's like that shift in energy and intention, they pick up on that.
They really do, yes. Although having said that, when we moved, it was like everything that we'd managed to move past before we moved suddenly came up. Because it was kind of like, exactly as you're saying about the intention, like there wasn't a pressure that we had to get XYZ done so that we could move. And so from then, I basically couldn't put a halter on her for at least a year and a half.
Wow.
And so it got like, we'd kind of go through phases where it would kind of be okay for a little bit and then kind of not be okay. And so we had this whole thing where we'd like rig up fencing every single day for her to walk herself in and out of the field. And And like, she was amazing. She would just like do it. We never had to. She was just like, okay, cool, yeah, this is what I do. Like, she was really, really
This
good.
works. Like, this is my
absolutely.
vibe.
It was really cool, and also again, like, so grateful to that yard for like being okay with us doing that, because how many yards are okay with that?
Not many.
Not many.
No.
And yeah, like, the halter was a huge catalyst for me and my personal development as well. And like, I realised how much I was projecting onto it, and I became this symbol of her not having a voice for me, because I was really worried that basically we could put a halter on and then she'd be really good. And like,
but not herself.
Exactly. And it would be like this whole thing where everyone kind of goes, well, horses that aren't used to pressure, they don't like follow the pressure, they go against it, or what, you know, we've heard all of these kind of stories, and it was like, she seems to just do it. And I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. And it became this whole thing where I was just petrified of taking away her voice, and I would almost not work on it, or I would kind of do what I thought was kind of consent-based training by basically holding it out to her, and then if she turned her head away, I'd be like, no, we're not doing halter today. And it's like, yeah, it's a little bit more than that, but that really took me on like a whole personal development journey, and just like all sorts of different things. But yeah, we did eventually get to the point where it became like a thing that we could do, and we started going out on walks and going in the arena and all sorts. But it still felt like she would do a lot better somewhere where she could be out all the time. And then we started sort of like just putting a few feelers out, and then this amazing place, which also, so this yard was like a half-hour drive from my house, and obviously I can't drive because I'm too young. So my mum was coming to drive me every day. And yeah, so it was like quite a big commitment. So we found this place with stables that, you know, I can just leave open and they can go in and out. There's like 5 fields. I can walk there. And it was just amazing. But of course, we needed another horse. And that's how Annie came into my life, really. And like, I was totally not angling for a thoroughbred at all. I was thinking, you know, like some sort of native-y type. Yeah, exactly. And, you know, even though I absolutely love riding and would love to ride if it felt like the right thing for me and the horse, and it, you know, it was all consensual and mutual, it's not like I want a horse to ride, because I would kind of never assume that even if it seemed like a horse that would be a good fit to ride, that when I actually got them home and started having conversations about that they would want that. So yeah, so I was like, okay, fine, you know, whatever. And then yeah, Annie just like kept popping up at the top of every single thing that I searched. And it was like, she's barefoot, she lives out, she's been fine all winter without rugs. Okay, all right, because, you know, that's the other thing with thoroughbreds. It's like, okay, they've got terrible feet, they're high maintenance, blah, blah, blah. And it was just like, maybe she's kind of okay. And yeah, and I'd just been learning animal communication, which was another thing that sprung up because of Willow. And we'd had this session with some trainer, and he was like, I think animal communication could be like a really good fit for Willow. And I was like, okay, you mad? But okay,
what is this?
Yeah. And I was like, all right, let's give it a go, because we were so stuck. And I was like, all right, fine. And we had like this lady that I had the session with. She's wonderful. She lives in America. I was like, you've got a photo of my horse and you've got her name.
And you're telling me stuff.
Yeah, you're telling me that she's got more nettle in her feet than she'd like. Okay. Right, okay. Yeah. And then
it's amazing, isn't it? Like,
it's really amazing.
Because I've worked with a few now, and to begin with, I was really skeptical. I was like, I'm going to test this person.
Yes.
Like, I'm going to tell them as little as possible and see what comes up. And I've worked with I've asked a couple of different, well, maybe like 4 or 5 different people over the years, and the first one I was like, oh my gosh, yes, she's got Fion down to a T. And then the second person I used, I was like, nah. Yeah. But I think if you find the one that gives meaning to you and that connects you to the missing piece of the puzzle,
Yes.
then that's the one to go for.
Yeah. And it's all about, it's about finding the right person. And also, you know, like, the world of animal communication has a bad reputation, and not for no reason, you know? Like, you can charge a lot for it, and it's, you know, like, it's easy to fake. And, you know, we've all heard of this, like, all the stuff about, like, psychics making stuff up and, you know, just giving really vague information. And you can do it. Like, you could just do a bit of psychology and make an educated guess. And that was kind of what I assumed, but yeah.
Sorry,
go for it.
There's a book I really want to read. Because I think there's a million books I want to read. One of them is called Why the Woo Woo Works.
Oh,
and I'm so intrigued by it. Because I had a look on like the Google sort of summary that you get, and it was like talking about the placebo effect.
Yes.
And I was like, this is interesting. Because I don't know, I think that's another gift that comes from the horses, is connecting to stuff on an energetic level as well, and like just really feeling the intuition, right? And that's animal communication as well. Because I wrote a post a while ago on Instagram where I was like, you know, when you're sort of exploring this avenue for the first time, you're like, oh, I just really want to be one of the people who, I just want to hear what my horse is saying. Like, where are the words? Like, give me the words. But we're all communicators. Like, just by listening to a no, like, okay, like, you know, the ear's back, right? Okay, I hear you, I see that, and that's where it starts. Like,
absolutely,
and it's a journey from there.
Yeah, it really is, and it's like, and when it's done well, it's so cool and it's really helpful, and you know, there were so many things that I found when I was having these sessions with Willow, because like, I have actually never had a lesson from a positive reinforcement trainer, like, ever. Everything that I know about positive reinforcement is just stuff that I've found out online. And like, it was really cool because she was like, oh, actually, Willow would like you to do it in this way. And, you know, if you could, like, she introduced me to this idea of this kind of rule of 3 thing, where it's like, okay, make sure they can do this thing 3 times, and then you move up to the next thing, you know, like, it's a really common thing, but I'd never heard of it. And then she was like, oh, by the way, like, I teach this stuff. And I was mostly just like, okay, well, I don't think I'll be able to do it, because I don't think of myself generally as a very intuitive person, or someone who's like, you know, I'm much more from the logic brain than the kind of intuitive brain.
The black and white brain.
Exactly. And I was like, no way, but I want to know the process.
But so black and white makes grey. And all different shades of grey.
Exactly. So... And I totally signed up to this thing going, yeah, well, there's like, it'll be cool, but I'm not going to be able to do it. And then she was like, at the start of the thing, she was like, yeah, I've never had anyone not be able to do it. And I was like, oh, well, I'm going to break that record. And then she's like, okay, well, I've got all these animals that, you know, people have said that they're happy for these animals to be used in these classes. So here we go. And she just kind of takes you through this meditation, and then you visualize the animal coming to life. And I was like, oh my God, I'm getting information. What is happening? Feels like you're in a dream and you're getting all these stuff, and it's so vivid. And then it's like really, really cool. And so I've kind of taken that run with it. And I do sessions with Willow and Annie now, and I do it with other people's horses, and it's really, really fun and
so
really
do you
interesting.
Think Willow's sort of gift to you, because I'll come back to this later, but her gift to you, one of her gifts is like to accept and understand the grey?
Yeah, I think that's definitely one of them. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's really nice. Yeah.
Yeah. And then that was how I chose Annie, basically, was because I was like, she's in Kent. If we're going to drive all that way, I want to check that she's a good fit first. And I honestly couldn't even put my finger on what it was about her in the session, because I'd done sessions with quite a few different horses that I was kind of thinking could be a good fit. Because, you know, you get their photo, and I was just like, I don't want this to be like at all intrusive. I'm just going to do like a tiny little connection just to kind of get a feel for your personality. And yeah, it was just like, oh yeah, she's the right horse. And then yeah, that was how we got her. That was the most long-winded answer I possibly could have given you to how did I get my horses.
I love it. You know, that's what this this podcast for me is for, is to
Yeah.
give space to telling those stories
Mm.
and getting them out, because yeah, I mean, we could rush through it and try and talk about it in like 5 minutes, but it's much
Yeah.
better, and you get so much more value out of just going for the whole thing. And like, you know, we went down a tangent on random communications, so that's great.
Yeah.
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 So do you want to talk to me a little bit more about that and how...
Yeah.
why don't we get into that next?
Yeah, go on then.
So the floor's yours.
Yeah, absolutely. So, that was, so I kind of said that, obviously I kind of did this class and I learned how to do it, and then how I actually kind of kept doing it. So one of the best things that this wonderful woman, Shaylee, did, was she actually set us a homework animal. So after the class finished, when we didn't have her to hold our hand and do the meditation, she was like, here you go, there's this horse, I want you to ask these questions and then send them back to me and I can tell you if you've got it right or not. And I still don't know anything about the guardian of this horse. Like, literally just had the photo and her name. And then it was really great to just have that push to make you keep doing it. Otherwise, I genuinely think I might have gone, oh, do you know what? I think I can only do it when she's doing the meditation. And, you know, I just think I would have thought maybe I can't do it on my own or something. But because of that, I kind of had to keep doing it. And I sent it all and she was like, yeah, you've got that all completely spot on. So I was like, that's really, really good to hear.
That's amazing.
And yeah, I know. I was so surprised. And then it kind of kept on going from there because I'm in this wonderful online group with my wonderful coach, Kat, who's the one I met through making the cakes. And and yeah, she's amazing. She was on my podcast as well, and she was the one who really supported me a lot through the stuff with Willow when I was kind of exploring
because it's quite a big shift, isn't it?
It's huge.
As we sort of talked about, like when you start realizing and really checking in with the horse and being like, are you okay with this? You're then kind of just afraid to try anything. Because like with the whole, you don't want to set them back because you're so terrified of putting them back into that shut down state.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you will make mistakes. It's okay, but it's like getting that balance between giving the autonomy and the authenticity, but also asking them to do a specific thing because it needs to be done.
Yeah.
And I think we all go through that sort of conflict period. Yes. So it's really great you had someone who could support you through that.
Yeah, and I'm still constantly doing stuff with her, and that whole feeling of just not even being able to is just like that kind of fear of doing anything that might upset them.
Yeah,
and she supported me so much through that. I've totally gone off on a tangent, but it was her group.
No, let's go for
it. That kind of really inspired me to keep on doing the communication because. I think I'd been talking about the fact that I'd been learning from this lady, and someone in the group was like, oh, can you give me the details of this lady because I'd like a session. And I was like, she's great, but she's really busy. And doesn't that sound like a familiar story? I'll do it. So I was like, all right, I'll give it a go with this horse, who was he's such a cool horse. I've done 3 sessions with him now. I love him to bits. And
I love how you just step into these gaps that are there. You're just like, this person I know is busy, but hey, let me do it. I'll try.
I'll give it a go.
Again, saying yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And
because
and then,
did you know? Sorry, because it sounds like
go for it.
I'm getting the idea that you're probably going to be doing that when you finish school.
Partly
professionally.
Yeah.
And would you have known? What did you sort of envision yourself doing after school before all this happens?
Oh, well, so I'm home educated. So
love that.
I've kind of had a very flexible education anyway, so it wasn't, I was selling chocolates as a retail thing when I was 13, with a shop, it was never kind of this idea of you finish school and then you start working. It was like you kind of just start doing stuff whenever
as
works.
you go.
Yeah. But I think I went through a phase of wanting to be a horse trainer, and then a phase of wanting to be like, that was kind of, I kind of started going, oh, I'm not sure I want to do that because I'm not sure I want to deal with all the people. And then I was like, I'm not sure how I want to do that ethically as well. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll try and do equine facilitated therapy and have my own horses. Which I still really like the idea of doing some sort of therapeutic / coaching work. And I'd really love to find a way to build that into the communication as well. Because so often what the horse says brings up interesting stuff.
Yeah.
So
for yourself as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, honestly, the amount that I learn from each of those sessions, it just blows me away every time. But like the way that I run it now, if I have anyone new that I don't know that I'm doing a session with, that someone's just kind of gone, okay, here you go, this person does this thing, go check it out. I do a call before and after I do my session. So some people are literally like on a Zoom while they're doing the communication with the animal. I'm not there yet because I can't do it with my eyes open, and I can't do it while I'm looking at a screen and talking to another person. I'm just like, that is a whole different skill level. But I will kind of do something before to kind of talk through their questions and manage expectations, and then something after to make sure that everything's clear and that they've understood the kind of messages in the way that the horse wanted them to be interpreted. Because there's almost always one thing that I will have maybe not quite put across clearly, or that's like something that their dynamic in the relationship kind of makes it a bit murky and difficult to understand. So I really love the idea of kind of bringing in some sort of coaching as well, where you can kind of go, okay, and then you can give the horse more permission to bring stuff up as well.
Because I think from what I understand of it, it's they don't speak English, obviously. And whatever you're receiving from them, you have to almost translate it into a way that humans can understand. Yeah,
it's almost like your role is you've got to receive the information and then translate it and then put it across in a certain way. And it's like I'll understand, or sometimes I won't even fully understand what I'm getting, and then I'll say it to them and they'll be like, makes sense, you know. And you've just kind of got to trust the process.
Really fun.
It's really cool. It's really daunting at first. Like there was this one horse, like I always kind of open it up for them to introduce themselves, how they want to be introduced and how they see themselves. And this horse was like, and he's like a little scruffy cob. He was like, I am an ethereal river deity. And I just got this image of him like stood like with this long, luscious, flowing mane, like in this water. And I was just like, I can't say that to your human. That won't make sense. Like a lot of the horses, they'll be like, I'm playful or I'm wise or whatever. But
and this guy was just like...
Yeah, and I make this oath before I go into any session, which is I will say everything, you know. I'm not going to let my own, like, people-pleasing tendencies or whatever get in the way of sharing something, or... So I'm
even if it might be hard to hear.
Yeah, if it's either hard to hear or just uncomfortable for me because I think it makes me sound crazy or anything like that, I'm like, if I'm not prepared to put it across, I don't go into the session. And so I was like, all right, I've got to say to this woman, your horse thinks he's this river entity. And she was like, what? That is so him. That is so
river entity.
I know. And now it's like part of his nickname. He's now like Alfie River Moon. Like that's his whole... It's like...
So does he just like feel like he's this river or like...
No. It's like...
how would you...
The best way I can describe it is he feels... I mean, and it's really interesting because I actually have been chatting to someone she's this incredible artist, and she's looking at doing channeled portraits of horses and
I think I saw her on Instagram.
Yes.
Do Do you want to mention her?
Yes.
You're welcome to mention her.
Esme Lowry. Oh my
Esme
goodness.
Lowry.
Check her
Give her a
out.
follow.
Yeah, her Instagram is at Esme's Eatle, and she was on episode 5 of my podcast. We didn't even talk about her art at all.
That's incredible.
Yeah, we got into such
it.
a tangent. But yeah, her art is amazing, and she's been getting into doing these channel portraits, and she did one of him recently as well, and he actually showed her something like slightly different. He didn't bring in the water element specifically, but she was just like, he's like got this huge energy, and he's just like a deity, and like it is just, and he's a 5-year-old cob, and
I love that.
He's like, and he comes across like he's sort of the size of a Clydesdale, and he's, I think, 13 hands, something like do you know what I mean? And he's just, and he's got like I hope she won't mind me quoting her, but she put something across amazingly where she was like, almost feels like he's got so much wisdom, but not from this life, and I've got no idea what any of my thoughts are on anything like that, but like, just like it felt like he holds this kind of experience.
I feel like that about Morgan.
Years.
Like, she's got this, she's in tune with that ancestral wisdom, and a great way to capture that is today because I'm starting to kind of like get used to standing still next to a block. I'm not going to ride her for another probably 2.5 years, but I just wanted to start to understand like a little bit of weight going on her back, stuff like that. And I just stood on a little step. She's quite small, so I didn't have to stand on the top one. But I just put my hand up like this and just went like that. And I've never taught her to do this before. She just parked her hind legs in. And I was like, wow. And that's the ancestral knowledge. And I love that when that surfaces for the horses, and like helping them to connect to that. And to embrace it, because we've had relationships with horses for thousands of years. So let's tap into that. You know?
And like being able to see them like that, like this is something else that me and Esme were kind of talking about, that actually it's a huge gift to even just give, like, to show them themselves, well, not to show them that themselves, but like just to witness them.
Or to say, hey, I see you.
Exactly.
Like, I see who you are.
Yeah.
And then because Warwick, again, he talks about attunement.
Yes.
And I love the word attunement, just not in the horse world, but also the human world, because it just captures. Because for me, being seen and being heard, it's not enough. The being seen, being heard, feeling felt, and getting gotten, that's the whole picture. And that's the attunement, which I think was from Dr. Sarah Schlotty, if I remember correctly. And it's like, being able to connect to the horse in whatever way you're able to give it to them, to just be like, I attune you, like, and you're amazing.
And allowing them space for that amazingness.
For that, exactly.
Because,
and in whatever way it presents itself.
And we get so used to our mundane life with our horses, you know? And it's just like, okay, I come and I do this, and we've got this. And we don't often kind of think of the possibilities of how expansive they might be. And like, I mean, so one of the things that I'm so into, like, training that's not training. So
yes, me too.
And I've been like getting into literally just when I turn up, instead of getting into jobs or whatever, just stand and stare at them like completely full of adoration, and just like,
I love that.
You know, and just trying to completely like integrate that attitude towards them before I think of asking anything. So I'm like coming from this place of abundance instead of scarcity, and just like, you are completely wonderful exactly as you are, before we even think about having a conversation. And like, there's so much that you can do with all of that. And
it's just like, it's something I want to just give to everybody. It's this gift of like just going there with no expectations, no pressure, no plan, nothing. We're just here high. Like when I get there, you know, normally one of them comes like, oh, hello, you're here. And I really try and like, yes, I know I have the hated poo. Sometimes my schedule is a bit tight, so I have to be like, okay, I do have to get on with this right now. But on days like today, I'm just there like, hi guys, how's it going? Like, oh, you know, it's a bit frosty this morning, was it? And I just talk to them, and then like they're just there like standing at the entrance. I'm like, oh, so you want to go into the grass out the front? Yeah, sure, you do that. Like, off you go, you know. And they were there for like 2-3 hours this morning. And I was just like, that's fine. Like, you live your life. Like, yeah. So I was thinking now, because I feel like this is a really nice moment to bring this in. So what are the biggest gifts both Annie and Willow have given you?
Oh my goodness. Well, there's no way that I could possibly begin to touch the surface of everything. But I think hang on, I need to think about this. What are the biggest gifts? Do you know what? I was getting caught up in trying to think of the biggest, most impactful thing. And right now, what they are doing together is literally just the gift of being. And we're not we're not doing loads, we're not achieving, and we're not doing anything that people would look at and go, that's amazing. And a lot of our life is sitting in the field and going for walks. And yeah, it's just like that thing of helping me detach from our human notions of productivity and progress, and like especially something that Willow has kind of really made me think about is the idea of seeing progress as something that's non-linear. So because when it's linear, you're valuing something above where you are, and you're going, okay, well, when we get to XYZ, that is better. And she was kind of like, well, if you look at it from a perspective of that where we are already is enough and good and can't actually be made better, it can just kind of be changed, and anywhere that we go is kind of more like a sidestep, or just like that thing just changing shape. That has really just, that's been a huge one. So just kind of spending time existing and not going, we should be doing XYZ, or not going, oh, well, when it doesn't really mean anything because we're not doing much. And just, the gift of presence and taking things how they want to go, and not forcing it to be anything that it doesn't need to be. And it makes all of those seemingly mundane moments really, really special. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Have you seen the movie Soul?
I haven't, but it is on the list.
Okay, because there is a line in there that just brought up for me. It was like, so to sort of give you an idea, there's a character and you see him from the soul context, so away from his body, and he gets introduced to this soul who has not yet been sent earthbound because she's really struggled with finding her purpose in life. And they do things the non-conventional way, and basically they end up down on Earth. And she just like is completely blown away by like the taste of pizza, or like a leaf blowing in the wind and stuff like that. And she's just like, wow, this is so amazing. And then the guy says to her, he says something like, 22, that's not a purpose, that's just plain old living. And but that's what we should be doing. It's just plain old living.
Yeah, that's purpose enough in itself. And like, I mean, I've kind of heard like quotes that are, you know, the slightly cheesy ones, but it's always like, you don't need a special occasion to do the thing or whatever it is, you know. You don't, it's like life is the special occasion in and of itself, and it's not inherently better to be galloping along a beach compared to, you know, going on a walk down a muddy track. Like, you know, it's fine.
Yeah, like my ride yesterday with Zirconia was like, to anyone else that would just be like, oh, all you did is just went like 50 meters down the road. I'm like,
Yeah.
But we went down the road,
We went down
and
the road,
not
yeah.
once did I have to pull on her reins. Like, I just was there, like, letting her graze, of course. Like, I let her go. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, we're going out the gate. You choose left or right. Okay, we're
Mhm.
going right. And then she was just like, da, 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 in her little rhythm. And I was not directing her. I was just like, you go, girl. This is for you.
Yeah.
This is for us, and primarily for you. And then she came across some grass and just kind of eating. And I was like, you know, a lot of people were like, oh, you can't let your horse eat while it's riding. It's dangerous. I was like, this lady, there's no telling her not to eat that grass. Like, she's gonna eat the grass because she's there. Like, that's just how she is. But what's amazing is, like, I was just there, like, you know, able to sort of have the idea. And this is why I call myself the cognitive equestrian, because a lot of it is like holding the intention in your head and that awareness, and just being like, we're going to go forwards right now.
Mhm.
And all I did was go like, and like give a tiny bit of leg. And she was like, okay. And I not once had to pull on the reins. And that's huge. But to anyone else watching, it'd be like, oh, she's like letting her horse eat the grass. Like, what is she doing? You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was such a big day. Like, I was like, this is huge.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, it's been really, really, really wonderful talking to you. And I feel like you and I could just talk for
thank
hours.
you for having me on. We really could. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's been lovely to connect. And I really hope we get another opportunity to do so.
Absolutely. Yeah.
To just wrap it all up, what is the one message that you would like to share with the horse world?
Oh, well, obviously there's loads. But one that came to mind when I was kind of thinking about this is, even though everyone says it, listening to the horse, and not just in the context of, like, you know, the kind of the obvious, like, okay, they don't want to do this today, so we won't do it, but like getting really interested in, like, finding out about their experience in a way that's not centered around our experience. So we're not like going, okay, well, what thing do you want to do with me? Whatever, you know, we're kind of going, okay, well, what do you like enjoy in your own free time? Or I think often we think of listening to the horse in the context of training, or we think of listening to the horse in the context of, like, if there's an issue, we listen to them about it. I'm really interested in, okay, brilliant. And can we also expand into listening to them about everything that brings them joy? And, you know, and kind of going, all right, I want to know you just the same way that you would ask your friend a question. And,
what hobbies do you do?
Yeah,
well, I
exactly.
like art. Whereas I feel like if I asked Fionn, what hobbies do you? Well, I like playing with a yoga ball.
Yeah.
Like, that's my thing.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And we can find it out from, you know, an individual level, and it could be really easy to go, oh, well, you know, horses enjoy eating grass and being with their friends, and just go, okay, well, that's all there is to it. But, you know, like your example with Fionn, okay, he likes playing with the yoga ball, but another horse might not.
No, exactly.
Yeah, and it's where you can find all of those, like, what matters to you as an individual, and you don't need to be an animal communicator to do that, you know?
No.
At all. You can just watch them. And if you have that thought in mind, and if you're just kind of watching them through that lens, it's really easy. It's really easy to find out what matters to them.
Just holding space for what brings them joy. Because I think, like, we'd never go to our friends like, oh, you should do music because I like music.
No.
But we do that to our horse. Oh, you should do show jumping because I
like
want
show
to do
jumping.
show jumping. That's what I'm doing. It's just like, how about asking that the other way around?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Completely.
And on that note, let's wrap it up here.
Amazing.
Okay,
oh, thank you
very
so
much.
much for having me on. Yeah.
Well, I hope you all enjoyed that episode as much as I did recording it with Poppy. There were so many wonderful moments in our conversation, and I hope that every listener has something that they can take away from what we talked about and Poppy's story and carry that into their relationship with horses as well as people. If you want to find out more about Poppy, the links are in the show description. And in the meantime, I hope you have a very enjoyable day wherever you are in the world. Take care of yourselves, and thank you very much for listening, and hopefully hear from you soon.